What's going on, guys? It's Mr. Miles, your favorite English teacher, giving you the tips that you need to be successful in your English class. Listen, you have to be tired of using super boring sentences over and over again. We get in the habit of creating these very simple sentences that don't give us description, that don't tell us when, that don't tell us where. They just are very plain. We don't want to do plain sentences, guys. So I'm going to tell you a trick that is going to help beef up your sentences and make you look like a scholar. So make sure that you're taking notes throughout this lesson, because when you get back to class, I want you to be able to say you are a genius. Let's get into it. So the best way to make those simple sentences come alive is the use of adjectives and adverbs. Now, it's okay if you're not familiar with these words, okay? Because I'm gonna break both of these words down in this video. Now, in the most simplest sense, these two words are used to describe things, okay? But it's a little bit more complicated than that. So let's start with adverbs. Adverbs are used to describe action. So adverbs, hint the word verb on the end of that, are used to describe verbs. That's easy, right? Like adverbs, verbs, adverbs, verbs, verbs, adverbs, verbs, verb. You get it? You see the point. You see the point that I'm getting at. So whenever you use a verb, don't be settled with just using the verb in the sentence, like the cat ran. That does not necessarily tell us how fast the cat ran, right? It doesn't really give us much information about the cat running other than the fact that it ran. But what if we said the cat ran quickly, or the turtle moved slowly? You see, now we have a how, which is added to that sentence, right? So whenever we think about adverbs, you have to think about the information that it adds to a verb. It adds the how, the where, and the when. All of these things are super important when it comes to writing simple sentences, because oftentimes simple sentences, they just don't give enough information, okay? So in order to use an adverb correctly, you have to use words that describe the how, where, and when. So here's some examples. Whenever you're writing with adverbs, you have to ask yourself the question, what's the verb of the sentence and how is it being described? So here's a few sentences for you to make this a little bit more simple, okay? So here's the first one. The girls laughed loudly. All right, in that sentence, what is the verb? See, the verb in that sentence is laughed because it's the action. But how are they laughing? Loudly. You see? Simple, right? The adverb in that sentence that's describing the verb is loudly. Look at this next example. Cheetahs run quickly. So when we look at that sentence, we see that the verb in that sentence is run, but we're talking about a cheetah here. So how does a cheetah run? Quickly. Easy, right? Here's one more example. This one's a little bit more complicated. My brother plays piano beautifully. You see, in that sentence, the verb is plays. And what word is describing how the brother plays? Beautifully. Simple. Very easy, okay? You guys got it. Make sure that you add in the extra information so that your adverbs allow you to create better sentences by describing your verbs. Simple. Again, let me say it really quickly. An adverb describes a verb. Easy, right? Okay, let's move on, okay? Because that was fairly simple. All right, now we have the adjective. An adjective is a word that describes a noun. Now this one can get just a tad bit more complicated, but again, it's just a word that is describing a noun. That's really all it is, okay? So when we think about these simple sentences that we often create when we're just getting into writing, oftentimes our sentences don't tell us a lot about the subject of a sentence, right? So in order to combat that, we have to use adjectives, because adjectives gives us a way to describe the nouns that we use within a sentence. Okay, whenever you're using an adjective or you're trying to recognize an adjective within a sentence, you have to ask yourself first, what is the noun or what is the subject of the sentence? Once you figure that out, then you want to ask, how is this noun or subject being described? Look at this first example. The strong woman lifted a car. Well, in that sentence, what is the subject or what is the noun in that sentence? There's a few, but there's one main. Right, the main noun in that sentence is woman. Okay, well, how is the woman described? Well, she's strong. The strong woman. Easy. Okay, let's move on to the next example. Jason is wearing a sleeveless shirt. Okay, what is the main noun in that sentence? Well, we could say shirt or we could say Jason, but we're not just looking for nouns, we're looking for an adjective. Okay, so we have to find a word that is describing one of the nouns. Okay, so sleeveless shirt. Yes, the word sleeveless is the adjective in that sentence because it's describing what the shirt looks like. Sleeveless. One more example to make sure you understand this, all right? She wore a lovely dress. All right, in that sentence, one of the main nouns or subjects within that sentence is the dress. But what does the dress look like? The dress is lovely. Easy, right? I knew you guys could do it. Look, let's not spend too much time on this. This is a simple thing that we can understand very quickly. Remember, an adjective just describes the noun. Don't get these two confused. Adverbs describe verbs, and adjectives describe nouns. That seems simple, right? Now, an adjective can also do a few things, okay? It can describe what kind of subject you're presented with, whatever the subject is, like what kind, like if I say cat, well, what kind of cat? It's a leopard cat, right? It describes the kind. It describes how much, right? It also describes how many, and it describes the order in which the noun appears. So those are the categories for adjectives, all right? So like I said, it's pretty simple. If you had a hard time understanding this, please watch the video over. That's the beauty of YouTube and videos. If you don't understand, you can always rewatch and get a better understanding. Well, that's all I have for today, guys. So hopefully you understand a little bit more about making those simple sentences better by using adjectives and adverbs. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.